There are thousands of books on personal finance, hundreds of YouTube channels, entire university degrees dedicated to economics. And yet, in 2024, Americans collectively hold over $1.1 trillion in credit card debt alone. So here's the question nobody's asking. If we have more financial advice available than at any point in human history, why does it keep getting worse? The answer might be that we've been taking advice from the wrong people. Because 2,300 years ago, a man named Chanakya, the greatest economic strategist in ancient history, wrote down 5 laws of money so powerful, so specific, and so uncomfortable that the modern finance industry has quietly ignored every single one of them. Today, we're going to change that. Before we get into the 5 laws, you need to understand what the Arthashastra actually is, because most people have never heard of it. The Arthashastra is a 2,300-year-old treatise written by Chanakya, also known as Kautilya, the chief advisor to Emperor Chandragupta Maurya of the Mauryan Empire. At its peak, the Mauryan Empire covered most of the Indian subcontinent and was one of the largest and wealthiest empires in the ancient world. And Chanakya was the man behind its economic engine. The word Arthashastra literally translates as the science of wealth and statecraft. This was not a philosophy book or a spiritual text. It was a working manual, instructions for how to build, run, and protect a prosperous empire. It covered taxation, treasury management, trade policy, economic espionage, and personal financial discipline. And the 5 laws we're going to cover today are not theories. They were field tested on an empire of over 50 million people. Let that sink in for a second. Law number 1, protect the treasury before all else. Chanakya wrote, and this is as direct as it gets, that the treasury is the foundation of everything. No army, no infrastructure, no welfare for citizens. None of it is possible without a funded treasury. And his rule was iron. The state must never spend more than it collects. Not because debt is morally wrong, but because a treasury that runs out is a kingdom that dies. And it is only a matter of when, not if. Now compare this to the modern personal finance version of this law. Before you pay rent, before you pay your phone bill, before you buy groceries, put something into your treasury first, not after everything else is paid. First, Chanakya called this the first act of economic self-preservation. Your personal treasury, your savings, your emergency fund, your investment account is not a luxury. It is your survival infrastructure. The moment you start treating it like leftover money, you have already started losing. Here's the uncomfortable part that no finance guru mentions. Chanakya believed that a treasury with even a small consistent surplus is stronger than a treasury with occasional large deposits. Consistency beats intensity every single time. Law number 2, tax fairly and spend on what multiplies. Chanakya had a very specific view on taxation. He believed taxes should never be so high that they destroy the people being taxed, because the moment citizens can no longer produce, the kingdom's income collapses. He described it like a farmer and a fruit tree. You harvest the fruit, you do not uproot the tree. This was his warning against greed at the top, destroying the base that feeds it. But here's where it gets even more specific. Chanakya taught that every dollar spent from the treasury should be spent on something that generates more than it costs. Roads, irrigation, trade infrastructure, education of the army. Spending that multiplied future income was mandatory. Spending that simply consumed without producing was dangerous. Apply this personally. Every financial decision you make is either harvesting fruit or uprooting the tree. Paying for skills that increase your earning power, that's irrigation. Paying for status symbols that depreciate the moment you buy them, that's uprooting. Chanakya would look at a $70,000 car financed at 9% interest and immediately call it what it is, a king spending on a throne while the irrigation canals run dry. Law number 3, know your enemies, especially the internal ones. Chanakya classified threats to an empire into 2 categories: external enemies, rival kingdoms, foreign powers, and internal enemies, corruption, complacency, overspending from within. He considered internal enemies far more dangerous. External threats are visible. Internal threats are invisible until it's too late. In the context of personal finance, your external enemies are easy to identify: the economy, inflation, job markets, unexpected emergencies. Most people spend all their mental energy on these. But Chanakya would ask you to look inward first. What are your internal enemies? Lifestyle inflation, the habit of automatically spending more every time you earn more. Emotional spending, buying things to feel something instead of because you need them. Complacency, the false belief that because things are fine today, no treasury building is needed. These internal enemies, Chanakya argued, have destroyed more kingdoms than any foreign army ever could. Because they operate in silence, they feel comfortable, and they never announce themselves before the damage is done. The most dangerous financial enemy you have is not the stock market. It is the part of you that says, I deserve this, I'll save next month. This is the last time. Law number 4, never depend on a single source of income. Chanakya was explicit about this in the Arthashastra. A kingdom that relies on a single trade route, a single crop, or a single ally is one disruption away from collapse. He built the Mauryan Empire's economy on diversification: agriculture, mining, trade, manufacturing, and taxation across multiple sectors. He understood that any single source of income, no matter how strong, carries an invisible risk that only becomes visible when it disappears. This is not new advice. You've probably heard some version of don't put all your eggs in one basket. But here's where Chanakya goes deeper than any modern finance guru. He didn't just say diversify your investments. He said diversify your value. Build skills across multiple domains. Create income that comes from your labor, from your capital, and from systems you have built. In modern terms, your job is one revenue stream. A side skill is another. An investment portfolio is another. A digital product or content channel, like the one you're watching right now, is another. A kingdom with 5 revenue streams can lose 2 and still survive. A kingdom with 1 loses everything the moment that one stream dries up. The average millionaire has 7 streams of income. Chanakya built an empire on the same principle, 2,300 years earlier. Law number 5, and this is the one Chanakya considered the foundation of all others. Intelligence is the most valuable asset in any empire. Chanakya ran an elaborate intelligence network for the Mauryan Empire. Not because he was paranoid, but because he understood that decisions made without accurate information are not decisions at all. They are gambles. He wrote that a king who acts on incomplete information is already half defeated before the battle begins. And he applied this same standard to economic decisions. Before any major financial move, Chanakya demanded complete intelligence. What are the risks? What are the alternatives? Who benefits and who loses? What happens 3 moves from now? In personal finance, most people make the opposite mistake. They act on emotion, on social pressure, on what someone on the internet said worked for them, on what feels right in the moment. They buy a stock because everyone is talking about it. They take out a loan because the monthly payment feels manageable. They start a business based on excitement, not research. Chanakya would say, your financial life is a kingdom. And a king who makes decisions without intelligence is not a king. He is just the last person to know his kingdom is collapsing. Before every major financial decision you make, ask the Chanakya question. Do I actually know enough to make this decision, or am I just comfortable enough with not knowing? So here are the 5 laws one more time, in plain terms. 1. Protect your treasury first. Save before you spend anything else. 2. Spend only on what multiplies. Harvest the fruit. Never uproot the tree. 3. Your biggest financial enemies are internal. Lifestyle inflation, emotional spending, and complacency. 4. Never depend on a single income source. Build multiple streams of value. 5. Make every major financial decision with complete intelligence. Not comfort, not emotion, not social pressure. These 5 laws did not come from a finance degree or a hedge fund. They came from a man who built one of the greatest economic empires in human history, using nothing but strategy, discipline, and a very clear understanding of how wealth actually works. The reason no finance guru teaches these is not because they don't work. It is because they require you to take full responsibility for every financial outcome in your life. And that is a harder sell than a 10-step shortcut. Here's what I want you to do right now. Pick one of these 5 laws, just one, and apply it this week. Not all 5, not a complete financial overhaul. 1 law, 1 decision. Because Chanakya also understood something else. An empire is not built in a day. It is built 1 correct decision at a time, repeated consistently until the walls are so strong that nothing from outside can bring them down. If this kind of thinking, ancient strategy applied to modern money, is something you want more of, subscribe to Economics of Empire. Every week we take wisdom from the empires that shaped history and connect it directly to the economic decisions you're making right now. I'll see you in the next one.